Question number 7, Phil Twyford.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is for the Minister for Social Housing. Does she agree with the Minister responsible for Housing New Zealand Corporation that one of the groups producing social housing in the next 2 years will be, and I quote, community housing providers which are contracted to the Ministry of Social Development, unquote? If so, how many houses will they be completing in the next 2 years?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, yes, I do agree with the Minister responsible for HNZC. Contracting with community housing providers is an important part of our comprehensive plan on housing. We have at least over 500 new social housing places over the next 3 years in Auckland. That's a mix of new builds and leases. We also have Budget 16, which provided for another 750 places over the next 4 years. Also another 330 houses forecast to be completed by the end of 2017 from the Social Housing Fund. I couldn't give that completed number within 2 years because there's a mix of things going on.
Certainly is.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Does she accept that the 500 places that she cited for community housing providers is a relatively small amount given the unmet need, and that if she hadn't sold off 2,500 state houses since 2011 and failed to build to the targets, that there would be thousands fewer people living in cars and garages now?
Two supplementary questions.
Well,
the
Mr Speaker,
Paula Bennett.
there is a range of reasons why we haven't got more houses being built in Auckland and faster, and that there's not just one solution to that, which is why we have such an in-depth and comprehensive plan around it. Mr Speaker, what I will say is that community housing providers do a fantastic job. It is hard for them, as it is with any home buyer or builder, to actually be coming up with the deposits. That's why the government is supporting them.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Given the unprecedented surge in families living homeless on her watch, does she believe that her $10 million a year promise for emergency housing, which she had to admit will mostly fund existing places, is anything like enough?
Well, Mr Speaker.
Honourable Paula Bennett.
Well, Mr Speaker, last year we put in for, 2.5 million, and as the member says, an extra 41 million in this budget alone. So we recently announced 14 providers, one of whom, which is the Salvation Army, which is getting $1.2 million, which will actually make a huge difference for them and the services that they can provide. The next tranche is currently out. We expect those to be in by the 13th of July. We'll be making further announcements at the end of the month, and within that we will see a number of new beds that will be available as well.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Why won't she support a cross-party parliamentary inquiry into the causes and solutions for homelessness, or does she think the government has the situation fully under control?
Well, Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Well, Mr Speaker, we have a range of initiatives, some which are already implemented, some that we are implementing, and some that are still in the negotiating stages, all of which will make a huge difference in the issues of homelessness and emergency housing, and that's what we want to concentrate on.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Did she instruct her caucus colleagues on the Social Services Committee to vote against the motion for an inquiry into homelessness, given that they had been supportive of an inquiry?
Mr Speaker.
I'll allow the Minister, but it's a pretty marginal question.
Mr Speaker, no, I don't
Paula
instruct the caucus to do anything. They had a discussion and we came to it as a collective.
Order. Order. Question number 8.